we've been witnessing various kind of activisms over last couple of years. Judicial activism, media activism, civil society activism, of late the shareholder activism. You see any business newspaper, at least for last couple of months, and particularly for last couple of weeks, you don't have a newspaper, business newspaper, without reference to the shareholder activism or investor activism. I think that is the kind of significance which is coming to this subject, and we part of the corporate professionals, either the practitioners or part of the corporate key managerial personnel. I think this is very important for us to be realize and see what is that we need to do to see that we don't face music from these shareholders and stick to our chairs and nobody will drag our chairs. In that background, I thought we will share a few thoughts on this subject. I just want to quote from today's newspaper. The Business Standard has a coverage on the CLSA, the world's largest investor in various biggest corporates either in India or overseas, who is also the investor in Infosys. They have written a letter to the Infosys CEO. They said in the letter that this letter, is the views of over 600 institutional investors who have invested in the Infosys. I think Infosys has delivered one of the worst results this financial year to us. The results came, I think, 2-3 days ago, and they already this CLSA representing various institutional investor has written a letter to the management asking, without mentioning the words, what is that is happening, and the guidance for the 12-13 they have reduced significantly. But the TCS has done wonderful results, but the Infosys could not do. Now this is the speed at which the institutional investors are working. I think there is nothing new about shareholder activism. On a lighter side, we see the very enthusiastic and irritating shareholders at the annual general meeting, which we don't want. But that is not the true shareholder activism which we are talking here. I keep telling my inner circle, my people, you have to raise for you have to ask for your rights, including with your mother. Unless you ask your mother that you are hungry, she doesn't know. She doesn't give the food. Similar logic is applied. We are talking about the democracy, whether the democracy is right kind of the political system, governance system. Even in the corporate democracy, whether the corporate democracy is functioning. In the case of corporate democracy, there is shareholders who are supreme. We have read, we continue to practice that is shareholders is supreme. How much that is being happening in the reality? That is the question. That's where the shareholder activism comes into foreplay. Why shareholder activism? This has been very active in the US and Europe for last 20 years. A lot of work has been done. Particularly, the institutional investors raise their voice and see that there is a more accountability, more responsibility on the management. If you look at the background why shareholder activism, minority shareholders are not protected. This is particularly largely true in India because though we have the listed companies, over 80-90% of the listed companies, more than 70%, 60% are held by the promoter. Unlike the Western, US, where the institutional shareholders hold maybe 70, 80, 90%, and the promoters could be maybe 10-20%. So you take them for granted. Minority shareholders have been taken for granted. So who has to protect their interests? So promoters own 55%, 60%, 70%. Though you have some institutional investors, they may be holding 15-20%, then some public shareholding. So there is nobody to take care the interest of the minority shareholder. That is one significant reason why this activism is gaining momentum. Agency problem and moral hazard of management. Shareholders' value is ignored, and controlling shareholder or managements are involved in self-dealing. You have various related party transactions. You have competing business done at the personal level, and you have various related party transactions. There is a lot of favorism which happens to the kith and king These are the various issues. Though that's why we call, though it's a listed company, it is a proprietary, it is run like a proprietary concern. I think those are the things which are coming in limelight. Weak enforcement of laws and regulations. This we have been witnessing. Very few instances comes to the knowledge in the public domain, and by the time the enforcement mechanism works on it and brings these culprits onto the books, it takes ages. But at least of late, I think there is little more speedier mechanism. I think that will be better for the corporate India. Market monitoring function is very weak, so a lot of public info, the lot of disclosures are given by the the corporates in terms of the results, shareholding pattern, or various other corporate events. But the public scrutiny, the market scrutiny, if the market forces are acting, automatically the competition, effectiveness, quality, governance, and all goes up. But if there is no market mechanism which is having a check on this, I think everybody ignores. You just ignore. You don't bother much. Obviously, government cannot do everything. It is a private enterprises. Shareholders are democracy. But if you are not taking care of your baby, how can government look after? And in the case of Satyam, there are a lot of even try that the government should take over the 100% company and then see that some compensation is paid to shareholders and all. I think good sense prevailed. They did not do that. I think today it has revived. I think it's a market forces. Mahindra saw that there was a metal in the company and they have acquired, now they have revived. I think in the process maybe some of the shareholders must have lost the money, but I don't think government could do anything. I could not have done better than what Mahindras have done. Yeah, poor corporate governance practices. So we have been listening to SAR for last 1 year, 1 hour. It's the order of the day is it is substance over the form. It's no more the form. Either you take tax law, you take the insider regulation, you take the securities laws. I think that is what we need to aim at. It is not the general compliance to the laws or regulations. It is the more, this in spirit, what is that meant for? Are we complying in spirit, or are we looking at only the, in the framework of, literal meaning? I think we have to go beyond that and see what is the spirit. In spirit, are we complying or not? I think that is the big question. Who will ask questions? The regulators do not have time, but maybe the shareholders will be asking these questions. No transparency and no accountability. The Reliance, Sara has been telling on the corporate governance and various things, but the kind of the disclosures they give and the kind of quarterly results they give in terms of their exploration, those kind of things, investors are not happy yet. What you are disclosing, what you are giving is not enough. You need to share much more. There are research reports, they have grilled the Reliance financials and those things, and they have publicly criticized the kind of information you are sharing is not enough. I was just reading. I think the last quarterly results they have made it much more transparent, much more informed. This is what is being happening. Obviously, poor corporate governance creates corruption. If you don't have controls, you don't have the accountability. I think that can lead to the corporates espionage and the corruption. What are the objectives of the shareholder activism? Independent watchdog on the management. Again, the another concept, you can't have the chairman and manager is the single individual. Though, it has been spoken very long, but still we have a lot of companies where chairman and managing director. There has to be ownership separate and the management separate. But still, the owners, promoters who constitute run these companies today. Obviously, there is a conflict of interest. So who can scrutinize? I think maybe the shareholders activism maybe partly will help that. Protecting the shareholders' value. There are a lot of instances, promoter group companies are merged with the listed company, and the valuations have a different meaning there. Stop profit siphoning management practices. Stop subsidies to affiliated companies. You underprice the products you sell to the affiliate companies. Stop illegal intra-group transactions, maybe to inflate the top line, bottom line, various kind of those things. Ensure transparency and accountability, obviously, and this activism also can bring in more discipline and also can bring down the corruption. These are the broad objectives of the shareholder activism. How do they function? How do they ensure that what they intend to do are being achieved. Maybe there are maybe 4 to 5 ways they try to engage. These are the weapons or the tools they use to see that somehow they communicate their message and see that management listens to that and work on it. Just to get into a little more detail, these 3-4 weapons. One is the monitoring and reporting corporate activities. Now, plethora of disclosures, plethora of corporate information, corporate events being disclosed and shared with the public. Sometimes without sharing the public, it is the insider who gets to know that. And there is a huge impact to the small shareholders, institutional shareholders who are not party to the decision. And that is being analyzed. Maybe there is an M&A transaction. What is its impact? Is being analyzed, it's disseminated, and investors are educated so that they can appropriately vote at the shareholders meeting. Constructive talks with the management before taking action. It is not that only at the resolution you take a different position or you propose a new resolution. You engage with the management. In the public domain, you may not have enough information. They may have a reason, they may have a strategic reason, they may have a genuine reason what they are doing. Only when you engage with them, understand, and then you are more enlightened, maybe you may appreciate what they have done is absolutely right. Or you can give your input, maybe management may change their thinking. There are instances they have listened to the institutional shareholder, they have gone back on their decisions, and we'll come to know, come up with some of those examples in a couple of slides. Obviously, the other two, as a corporate entity, we know the shareholders' rights and the shareholders' voting power, which determines the various corporate actions, events, items. Now, this is another very important tool. Again, very difficult to garner that kind of support. You may not be having the enough voting power with you, but maybe by kind of information you disseminate, you educate, and you communicate that the resolution is not in the large interest of the corporates, not in the large interest of the corporate and the shareholder, then that may be voted against. Not only that, proposing the agenda at the shareholders meeting, we have very limited activity happening in this area in India, but elsewhere is a lot of activity happening. Here there are very few instances where some set of shareholders or some set of institutional shareholders have proposed appointment of directors. Except that, I have not seen any other item which has been proposed by the institutional shareholders or minority shareholders. Maybe there may be, we may see new scenarios, new items coming up on the table. Electing the director, proposing outside directors candidate. We are seeing the independent director, but again, independents are losing the independent after 3 years, 6 years, 10 years having been independent. So that is the status of independent directors. Taking legal actions, I think so far in India we have not seen much. Maybe class action suits, which in the case of Satyam, lot of shareholders wanted to have it, but somehow I think there was no class action suit which happened in the Satyam scandal in India. In US and all it happened. We have in the proposed companies bill, there is a provision where the class action suits can be initiated by the government or the investor association or maybe group of the investors. So this is another weapon these shareholders have to bring up the issues to the management. Proposing and lobbying for legislation. I think in India we are far much far from here, which is